was a racehorse, and I wish he were mine. He never drank water, he only drank wine. My father used to work for the United Fruit Company, and I had a very happy early childhood in living in the company. You know, they had these
What was the name of the company?
United Fruit Company. They're a big outfit. They're into South America and all that. They're Jamaica, Belize, all these places.
But you were in Cuba.
But I was in Cuba. Yeah, my father was in Cuba. Daddy was born in Trinidad, and Mommy was the daughter of a well-to-do landowner, cane. They had cane estate. And then I have one memory, but I think that this other memory is more through pictures. And what I remember is that Mommy got a photographer to come and take pictures of Claire. Claire was beautiful. But I remember that.
How old do you think you were?
Well, I was 4. I would have been 2 because we are all 2 years.
And how many in your family?
There are 5 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I was 2 when Claire was born. And then 4 years after, Douglas was born. I remember his birth very well. Mommy had the baby at home, and a woman came with a bag, and I was put away somewhere to play, and then I heard a baby crying, and I don't think I ever saw the baby that night, but next day I was told, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have a lot of memories of my childhood. I remember Daddy coming in. He had gone to play bridge, and he came in and he would kiss Mommy. You know, I have these happy memories of a little girl. I grew up like that until I was about 5, when we found ourselves. I remember being in Havana, and it was at the time of Machado. Machado was a dreadful president they had in Cuba. He killed people and all that. It was a very bad time. But I remember being, which today I know is El Prado, sitting in a place where they had big lions, and that's La Avenida del Prado in La Habana, you know. Being dressed in velvet dresses. And we were just sitting there, pictures were being taken. I have good memories of that. And then being on a boat, on this beautiful boat. Well, there was a playroom for children, and that is what the story of that was, that this was in the 30s, and like 32, 33, when there was a world depression, and the United Fruit Company closed down, and all the foreign employees were sent back home. So Daddy then had to go back to Trinidad with his little family. There were 3 of us. My brother Douglas got pneumonia on the boat. And I remember Mommy taking a feather and painting iodine on his back and his chest. I was a little girl sitting in the cabin with them. And I would take turns. When they went to eat, I suppose. But I remember that I was told at a certain period, stay here with him, you know. He nearly died. He was very ill.
What was the iodine for?
That's how they cured pneumonia in those days. I don't know. But I remember this thing with this feather in a boat, you know. And Mommy painting these stripes of iodine, and this little child was very ill. Of course, I did not know at the age of 5 what he had.
Right.
I knew he had beautiful blonde hair. And when I told that to Douglas as an adult, he said, do you know that I've had this dream that I was in a boat as a child, but he said, why am I dreaming this dream? And then I told him, you know, he said, and that falls into place.
Right.
That's what that was. Then we went to Trinidad. I stayed with my grandmother. But then my father's brother, who had also worked in the United Fruit Company, was in the same boat.
And his name?
His name was Uncle Harry. He married Auntie Thelma Pantin. And they had 2 children, Gloria and Charles. And Mimi had us inside the house. But Uncle Harry was put in what was then the servants, except that it was not occupied by the servants, but it was converted into a room for them. And I remember playing a hopscotch with Gloria on the concrete between the house and the... All these things I remember, Nobody told me about it. I remember them.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember they used to have fights. Gloria and myself. We would be playing and then we'd have a fight, And like Mommy would call me, Norah, come in, Auntie Thelma would call Gloria. And then we were back playing again in the afternoon.
And you were speaking Spanish all that time back in Trinidad? What would you remember?
Yes, I was speaking Spanish. But I also was speaking English. I think I was always bilingual because Daddy worked in the United Fruit Company and all the people he worked with spoke English. While we were there, Daddy and his brother Harry, Uncle Felix, they bought an estate in Princestown, Mayo somewhere, and they went to live out there. Mommy and all of us, we went to live out there. But then, because there were no schools. This was country. So because there were no schools, I was sent to town to live with Mimi, my grandmother, whose name I have taken as a grandmother. And
were you close to her? I mean, she was a good person in
Mimi
your life?
only spoke French. So I got to be like Simon's children. I never spoke French.
Did you understand?
But I knew everything that lady told me. I knew when she told me to pick up my clothes. I knew when she said, go and wash your face. I knew when she said, did you brush your teeth? I knew everything she said to me. But I never spoke it. That was funny, huh?
I don't think none of us know that. So Papa's parents spoke French in their house?
Yeah. And Mimi spoke. I don't recall hearing her speak French. There's a program, The Hillbillies, the little old lady. I think they copied my grandmother. She was just like that, the little bundle of quarreling with the little apron. Oh, mercy. Now, I have a brass pot, that beautiful, big, huge brass thing. That belonged to Mimi. And she used to make guava jelly on a table under a tree, and I will tell you, not a leaf was allowed to remain on the ground. She would tell the maid, and it was picked up. That ground was spotless. And that's how she had her home and everything. And I can remember her always in black and white, always in little checkered, little flowered, black and white, And there were the wooden spoons stirring this thing. And I would be playing, she's speaking to me in French, I answering back in English. It was a riot.
Awesome.
6, 7 years old, And my cousin Rita lived with us then. She was 15 years old. In that house was my grandmother, and her 2 unmarried daughters, Madeline and Noemi. And we were there until, in the meantime, Mummy came back from the country and found a house in St. James. The Roxy Theatre? Well, about several houses down there. And she came back because she had these months. She was pregnant then. Well, I know this as an adult. I know she had this very big tummy kind of thing, Oh, I must tell you, Janet was born in Princestown.
I didn't know that.
She was born in Princestown, and I remember standing at this table and hearing the noises that come from a labor room, and then hearing this, and it was a little girl, it was Janet.
So she's off to Douglas?
She is after Douglas.
Okay. And then comes Claire.
And then Claire. He comes right in the middle.
Mm.
I remember that day vividly. I remember great. We used to go to Birang where Daddy lived with Fidel Castro and the whole shebang, you know? Which is a famous story of us playing baseball. He loved baseball and hated the Americans. Those were the two loves of Fidel at that stage, I remember. And I am 2 years older than, 2 days older than him, you know.
Oh, I did not know that.
I'm born on the 11th, he's born on the 13th, same year. Well, we were both 14 years old and he was at home, we were playing baseball. And afterwards, Mummy with the lemonade and the cake and so on. So we went upstairs and had whatever to drink. And Fidel started to talk to Daddy. And they were talking about school. He was then going to Beling. Beling was the best. It was Jesuits College in Havana, the best school in the island. Well, Jesuits, you know. And he asked Daddy where Douglas was going to. Well, Douglas was still at that stage in this other place with these priests, you know. And Daddy had taken him out then because the boy was really very unhappy. So Fidel said to Daddy, why don't you send him to Beling? And Daddy said, Beling? I can't afford it. He said, that's the most expensive school. He said, I can't afford to send Douglas to Beling. And this pipsqueak says to my father, Mr. Melizan, you have one son and you're not going to make the supreme effort to give the boy the best education? Well, guess what? That night, when Fidel went home, or that afternoon, I heard Daddy saying to Fidel, to my mother, you know, the boy has reason, you know. We can make the sacrifice and send Douglas there. That's how Douglas got to go. And Fidel became then his mentor, because we actually have a letter where Mummy said to Douglas, you need to go to the dentist, get Fidel to take you. And Stew Ball was there, but the betting was heavy on the bay and the mare. And away out yonder, ahead of them all, came a dancing and prancing, my noble Stew Ball. I bet on the Slim Ball, I bet on the mare. If I bet on old Stew Ball, I'd be a rich man today. The hoorah she hollered, the turtle that moaned, I'm a poor boy in trouble, I'm a long way from